Good day, beautiful people. This is Natalie Silva with Life Treasures and Golden Moments, where I share with you true stories of miracles and stories of inspiration. I was thinking today, with what's been going on in the world around us, I'd like to share some thoughts with you about tough times and hopefully give you some food for thought and a dose of optimism to help carry us all through this tough time we're going through right now and experiencing. You know that old ad that Morton Salt used to come out with that says, when it rains, it pours? Well, life can be like that sometimes, When tough times come, they come often with a vengeance, like they are right now. Trouble after trouble, heartache, loss, making us feeling overwhelmed and hopeless. Fortunately, tough times don't usually last long, and we will hope so in this case with this virus going on. Combating life's storms isn't easy, but if we all hang in there and stay strong, like we have in our past when we've had things hit us, like 9/11 and other things that went on in our world here, the battle will be behind us. So if we can keep positive thoughts and do what we need to do to stay safe and well and listen to recommendations, keep hope, and keep the faith, we'll all be journeying through this, and the sun will be shining on us once again before too long. So that's my thoughts for today on our situation. So today's story is kind of in that vein because it's called It All Depends on How You Look at It. And the author is Barbara J. Fisher. I hope you enjoy the story. I was blind. It was only 6 weeks, but it seemed like an eternity at the time. Strange though it may seem, while I was blind, I saw the people in my life more clearly than ever. My disability taught me to look with my heart rather than with my eyes. At the time, I was in Columbus, Ohio, in a hospital there, feeling scared and alone and homesick for my husband and 5 children. I'm sure the darkness exaggerated these feelings even more. I spent hours, even days, wondering if I would ever see my children's faces again. When the nurse told me I was getting a roommate, I was really displeased. Ironically, I didn't want anyone to see me this way. But like it or not, my roommate, Joni, soon moved into the bed next to mine. In spite of my best efforts to dwell in self-pity, I almost immediately started liking Joni. She had a positive attitude, was always cheerful, and never complained about her illness at all. She often sensed my fear, and she could sense my depression too, and she had a knack for raising my spirits. She joked that I was lucky not to be able to see myself in the mirror. My hair was a mess from lying in bed for a week, and I had gained several pounds from the cortisone shots I had. No matter how sad or angry I felt, Joni could always make me smile. When Joe, my husband, would come to visit, he sometimes brought all 5 children with him. It was quite a challenge for him to dress 5 kids all under 6 years old, and they often came to the hospital in mismatched outfits. After they were gone, Joni would tell me the specifics of what each one had worn. Then she would read each "I love you and please get well soon" mummy from the cards that they had brought. When friends sent fresh flowers, Joni described them to me. She would open my mail and tell me how lucky I was to have so many friends. At mealtimes, she would help me find my mouth with the food. Again, she convinced me that, just for the moment, perhaps, I was lucky to be blinded so I couldn't see the hospital food. One evening, Joe came to visit alone. Joni must have sensed our need for privacy, so she was quiet. I wasn't sure she was even in the room. During his visit, Joe and I talked about the possibility that I might never see again. He assured me that nothing could change his love for me, and that no matter what, we would always have each other, and would always continue to raise our family together. For hours he held me in his arms, let me cry, and tried to make my dark world a tiny bit brighter. After he left, I heard Joni stirring in the bed. When I asked her if she was awake, she said, "Do you know how lucky you are to have so many people loving you? Your husband and your kids are beautiful. You are truly blessed. I knew that during our weeks together in the hospital, Joni hadn't had a husband or a child visiting her. Her mother and minister came occasionally, but they only stayed a short time. I suddenly felt very selfish. I had been so wrapped up in myself I hadn't even allowed her to confide in me. From her doctor's visits, I knew Joni was very sick, but I didn't really know with what. I'd heard her doctor call her illness by a long Latin name, but I had never asked what it meant. I hadn't even taken the time to inquire. I realized how self-centered I had become, and I hated myself for it. I turned over and started to cry. I asked God to forgive me. I promised that, first thing the next morning, I would ask Joni about her illness, and I'd let her know how grateful I was for all she had done for me, and I'd be sure to tell her that I loved her. I never got the chance to say those things to Joni. When I awoke the next morning, the curtain was pulled between our beds, and I could hear people whispering nearby. I strained to hear what they were saying. A minister was repeating, "May she rest in peace." Before I could tell her I loved her, Joni had died. I learned later that Joni had come to the hospital for that very reason. She knew when she was admitted that she would not ever return home. Yet she had never complained and had spent the final days of her life giving hope to me. Joni must have sensed her life was ending that night when she told me how blessed I was. After I cried myself to sleep, she had written me a note. The day nurse read it to me that morning, and when my vision came back, I read it again and again to myself. My friend, thank you for making my last day so special. I found great happiness in our friendship. I know that you care for me too, sight unseen. Sometimes to get our full attention, God must knock us down, or at least make us blind. With my final breath, I pray that you will soon be seeing again, but not especially in the way you think. If you can only learn to see with your heart, then your life will be complete. Remember me with love, Joni. That night I awoke from a deep sleep. As I lay in bed, I realized that I could vaguely see the brightness of the tiny nightlight along the baseboard. My vision was coming back. Only a little bit, but I could see. But even more important, for the first time in my life, I could also see with my heart. I knew that Joni had been placed in my life for that very reason. Even though I never knew what she looked like, I'm sure she was one of the most beautiful people in the world. And though I never told her I loved her, I believe she knew. I have lost my vision several times since then, but thanks to Joni, I will never allow myself to lose sight of the important things in life. Things like warmth, love, and sometimes even sorrow. If shared with someone special, can be beautiful. It depends on how you look at it. So that, my dear friends, is the message of the day. To look at life with warmth and love. And even in times of sorrow, if you share it with someone, it can be beautiful. You all take care. Stay well. And until next time, may God bless. This is Natalie Silva with Life Treasures and Golden Moments.